into that. Do you know, Rob?
I have seen, yes, I have seen. What's generally happening is there's a survey was sent out to the various CEOS agencies to get their input on any open source solutions or software they were either using, contributing to directly, or had a major play within that agency. So it's a CEOS related inventory. It's not a general global inventory. There's this thing called the internet for that. And GitHub and Google and search and so forth. It was an inventory around what the agencies that are associated with CEOS were doing, and it's related to sharing best practice between those agencies. And I do think there's a question still around how much open source software focused it should be, and whether or not we should actually be talking about some of the more commercially orientated options that are around the place, and because that appeals to sustainability. So it'll be an ongoing conversation. This is just a start to that situation. So I'll change my hat back to moderator now. So, all right. Oh, there's been a late change, and the anonymous has come to the front now. Gregor, how does Sentinel Hub compare with Google Earth Engine and Radiant Earth?
So first of all, to Google Earth Engine. Google Earth Engine has this privilege of having thousands of computers tied to it, which are available for free to researchers. We unfortunately cannot support that because we don't have the Google's budget. In terms of functionality, the Google Earth Engine and Sentinel Hub probably are, let's say, similar, are quite alike. Maybe the important difference is that Sentinel Hub was made designed as an API. So it's not like a tool where you go and put your platform, get results out, but rather it's an API which you use from some other tool which you built, or QGIS or something else. And so it's meant to really to support this integrability. That's probably the main difference. In terms of the Radiant Earth, I would say it's Radiant Earth is basically the user interface on top of the service similar to Sentinel Hub. They have a typical limit of the old-fashioned data cubes is that they replicate all the data. So in Radiant Earth, you have to say, I am interested in these scenes and this area of interest, and then they copy this very efficiently to their own servers. But then it takes some time and it gets costly. For example, a couple of months ago, I played with it, and now they send that they send me an email saying that they will delete my data because there's just too much of it. And I mean, I understand them because I really put quite a bit of data in my account. But so I think the Radiant Earth in terms of the functionality is very much alike to Sentinel Hub. It has also a user interface to build these algorithms. We thought that it's easier to simply write code than to create diagrams, but I mean, at the end, it's a very nice tool. But yeah, what they should do is Radiant Earth should connect to Sentinel Hub, and then you have the best available tool out there.
There's a lot of options actually. There's several other organisations that have got very similar platforms. It's certainly like golden era time for computing in Earth observation, if you're an Earth observation scientist. Sustainability is often the question that sits behind all of those. All right, we've had a reordering again. So I'm just going to find the questions I have not asked. Here we are. To Daniel, how far along are the discussions about integrating the DSs with the European Open Science Cloud, that is leveraging the public infrastructures?
As soon as we have started with the DS, we have discussed with our sister DG, which is DG Connect, who was dealing with the Open Science Cloud, in connection with DG RTD, who is in charge of research. And so the discussion there was ongoing. The idea is really that for the scientists, the researcher wanted to use Earth observation from Copernicus, they would go and use one of the DIAS, the one of their choosing, and that we would put mechanism for integrating and making possible for a researcher to go on top of the DIAS. And of course, that was also the condition of the DIAS to have a different type of user and possibility to arrange for the traceability of what the billing for this researcher. Now, as you know, it also depends on the Open Source Cloud progression and more on the people side. My previous head of unit with whom we have done the DIAS has now moved to the unit in charge of this Open Source Cloud.
Alrighty, another question here for Gregor and Brian. As the community shifts towards cloud-based on-the-fly processing, do we still need national or regional data cubes?
Do we still need national regional data cubes? I think if we had unlimited resources and we had unlimited storage and computing capacity, we could do all this in a global scale. I think it's just a matter of time till we move towards some of these solutions that we can afford and we have the technical capacity for. So it seems to be, at this point, the regional arrangements seem to be the best. And a lot of it has to do with the stakeholders and the regions having the support from governments and organizations local to that region. That seems to be the best way to move forward some of these technologies and to get the resources necessary. And the example I always use is that, Digital Earth Africa has a number of stakeholder and supporting organizations that are in that region that are getting behind what's being done in Digital Earth Africa, and so that makes sense for it.
Maybe I perfectly agree with you. I just add, I don't see the future of having all the data at one place. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Even if you look at the Amazon, the big guy, they have part of the data in Frankfurt, part of the data in US West. So even they don't have the data at one place, and it doesn't make sense because you have usually the data will be close to the data originator, the data providers. So how I would say is that you will still have the regional initiatives and data groups and so on, but I would hope that they don't replicate the data, or at least that they do this to the minimum extent possible. Because, talking, for example, about the African data cube, they have lots of the data that is relevant for them and that they should be there. But when they are talking about Sentinel data, I'd say that they can simply use one of the services and not necessarily Sentinel Hub, many others. You can, in the world of the web services, you can integrate things well so that it doesn't matter where the data are standing. And just as an example, Sentinel Hub is now hosted on Amazon US, Amazon Frankfurt, CreoDIAS, Mundi, Onda, Wikiosun. So you have the Sentinel Hub itself is integrating 6 platforms together.
Yeah, I like your point about the avoiding the replication. I think that's really important. I mean, there's no need to replicate these large volumes of data. If we can get the clouds to be able to talk to any one of them, then we can avoid this replication.
I think we must not forget that we will get the value of Earth observation data only if we combine it with the regional and the national data. And it's understandable that the regional and national entities, they will want to share their data on some national infrastructures and data cubes. So it's important that we work on the federation, that these things can be combined. But I think the regional aspect is absolutely important and must not disappear.
And last but not least, Andrea, we have a question for you. In fact, we have 2, potentially. So, will Card4L products be available as COGS, Cloud Optimized GeoTIFFs, for those of you that don't speak acronym? It's one of the 2 languages that I get to speak, so I'm multilingual. Will those COGS be available to facilitate the usage for analysis in the cloud? Is Card4L endorsing COGS?
Well, the short answer, I don't know. But I suppose, yes, it hasn't been discussed yet, not that I know of. Brian is part of the discussions. But yeah, I suppose, yes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that the format is actually defined in the Card4L specification in the end. It has to have certain properties and features so that the data can be interoperable and stackable. But COG versus non-COG really has to do more with efficiencies of storage and efficiencies of queries. So I don't think that's specified. But I will say that the effort that we're doing within CEOS now, Landsat by the end of 2019 will have their data in COG format on Amazon. And I know that the work that Greg is doing in putting some of the Sentinel data and moving it to Amazon, that's all COG format. So I think the community is moving towards that format anyway, naturally.
Right. I have one remaining question that's related to that, but I don't actually know who to send this to. It might be you, Daniel. If COG is becoming the standard, why is Sentinel data only available as JPEG 2000?
Can I respond to that? I can respond to the decision, but I don't think that COG is becoming a standard. COG is becoming a standard in a very niche field. If you're talking with the climate people, they will all say about HDFs, not COGs. And I don't think there is a need that we have one format, because it doesn't matter that one format fits all the needs. I think that we need to use the formats which are ready to be used in the cloud. JPEG 2000, for example, is very nicely usable in the cloud, and Sentinel Hub proves it because we can use it in exactly the same form. That being said, Sentinel-1 GRD is a horrible format as it is served by the European Commission, and I would hope that they convert it to COG because it's useless on the cloud.
And on that happy note of the great definitiveness of how useless things are on the cloud, thank you all for your participation, for getting onto Slido and getting your votes in there. You made it challenging by changing the votes while I was actually reading the questions. And I believe lunch is served in the same location as it was before. And we are perfectly on time. Enjoy.